Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Adam Ringler here again. So if you're watching this, you're likely someone who's had an elite level of structure and discipline built into your life through sport. And now, like a lot of us, you're probably trying to rebuild that same consistency post-college. So no coaches setting the schedule, no early morning lift groups or anything like that, no looming games or accountability meetings, anything like that. And yet, here you are, you still care. You still want to be fit. You still want to eat like a grown, real adult. You want to be capable and competitive and energized once again. And that's what today's about. It's about 5 key strategies that help keep former athletes like you rebuilding or rebuilt your structure and to regain control in your day, in your weekly cycle. Now that you have exhausted your eligibility, you're no longer a college athlete, you are a professional in the real world. So I want to share those 5 things with you, and I'm going to just kick right into what I want to discuss, and it is reframing your identity, right? So often from being an athlete to being a lifelong competitor. That's so important for a lot of us former athletes. One of the biggest mental shifts that I see that's really also helped me and many former athletes that I've coached was moving from an athlete identity to what I call the lifelong competitor identity. See, your sport was most likely the vehicle, right? The competition, the grit, the preparation, that's the engine, right? That part of you never goes away. Now, the model of the car might change, right? The wheels might change, but the engine, right? You are hardwired to have what you have. And you might have 2-a-days, like you might not have 2-a-days anymore. You might not be under the Friday or Saturday night lights. You might not have 30,000 fans screaming your name. You might not be in the Final Four or at a conference championship anymore. But the skills that you cultivated and built and honed during your college days, they still live inside of you. So the ability to chase better, to love hard things, to wake up and work when nobody's watching, that's still in you, right? So what I encourage people to do is twofold. Number 1, acknowledge the grief of losing a part of your identity because it's real. It matters. You need to sort of go through that grief process, and it's okay to feel that loss. The second thing is you need to reclaim your identity by creating a new scoreboard somehow. Maybe it's a consistency streak. Maybe it's a 5K. Maybe it's closing all of your rings on your Apple Watch. Maybe it's finally just dialing in your nutrition for 6 straight weeks. Whatever it is, we need to track something that matters to you. And you need to create your own stakes somehow, some way. You need to create your own stakes. So let me leave you with this. Just because your jersey isn't getting washed anymore, it doesn't mean that you're not an athlete. You're just you're in a different league now. And we need to appreciate that, and we need to carry that and move on. The second thing I wanted to share is that we need to be very deliberate and intentional about designing the environment necessary for sustained success. And so how I sort of often think of this is that in college, the discipline didn't matter or didn't feel optional really because your environment made almost everything so automatic. And I've shared this on many of these shows already. So if you watch this channel, you probably have heard me say this over and over again, right? But it made success almost automatic. And here's how. You had scheduled team lifts. You ate with your teammates at the same times, probably in an athlete cafeteria. You lived probably near the gym or the arena or the field. Your coaches and staff were literally paid to help keep you accountable and in line. So now that there's zero built-in guardrails, your environment must be built by you. So how do you actually do this, right? So I want to break it down, right? Your home setup. Make your kitchen support your goals. So things like pre-cut fruit, right? Keeping that in the fridge, keeping protein within reach, getting the junk food and the snacks and all of the what I call like domino foods. When you eat one, the dominoes all fall. Keeping the domino foods out of sight, or at least out of the house altogether if you possibly can. Your training area. Have your workout gear ready the night before. If you train at home, keep a clean, dedicated space where you can train. If you go to a gym, schedule your sessions on your Outlook or Google or Apple Calendar and keep them like they were valuable meetings that you can't cancel, right? So don't cancel on yourself. Now, thirdly, your phone and your digital hygiene matters. So your phone can be your biggest friend, or it actually can be one of your worst enemies. That idea of deleting the dopamine sort of hack and fix, right? So how do you delete that dopamine, right? You download maybe a habit tracker or a timer. You turn on your do not disturb mode during your training blocks, right? If your goals feel hard, that's usually not a motivation issue. I see it from time to time. It's not a motivation issue. It's typically an environmental issue. So fix the friction and try to stack the deck in your favor. The third thing I love to recommend is, again, and I've said it on this show in our accountability calls, in our Q&As, in our master classes, and it's this: really trying to implement micro habits for essentially macro results. So when athletes lose structure, they often try to get it back by doing too much all at once. And that's a recipe for failure. I'm going to start lifting again, and I'm going to start meal prepping again, and I'm going to go to bed earlier, and I'm going to do cardio, and I'm going to eat. Like, that's a surefire way to burn out. The better way is to go small, like ridiculously small, because small habits, they scale. Small wins over time compound, and small reps help internally rebuild confidence. So here's 5 micro habits that I've seen make a huge difference in athletes making this jump. First of all, 1, a 5-minute warm-up routine before your workout. Not just physical prep, but like a real, true habit of warming up, right? Your coaches, your strength coaches, we all probably did dynamic warm-ups before you went and hit the football field or the basketball court or in the weight room. You are no exception. You're still an athlete. We should have some level of warm-ups. My second, daily 10-minute walks after your biggest meal. If your biggest meal of the day is at dinner time, then have your dinner, but then immediately thereafterwards, if it's convenient and maybe conducive with your family environment or what's going on at home, have a 10-minute walk. Walk around the neighborhood, right? It aids digestion and it builds momentum, and it actually just makes you sort of feel better immediately post-meal. 3, hydrate before caffeine. So even something as simple as drinking 20 ounces of water before your first cup of coffee is so simple, and it's so effective, and you start momentum literally in the morning, moving throughout your day, right? Now, number 4, I love having a big salad, 1 big salad per day. And it doesn't matter, again, like what else you eat or anything, but getting that fiber, those micronutrients, and the satiety handled is a huge, huge benefit. So I always try to aim in one of my meals or one of my like feeding windows, having a big salad every single day. And then number 5, just track one thing. Don't try to attempt to track 10. Track one thing. And it could be sleep, it could be protein intake, it could be your workouts, it could be your steps, it could be your conditioning, your zone 2, whatever it might be. Just try to aim to get one thing done. Because the moment you start stacking these small micro habits, your body, your brain, it all starts to trust you again. And discipline isn't a full send sprint. It's a controlled jog that builds momentum, belief, step by step. Now, the next thing I do want to talk about is, and you probably did this during your college days, so I think it's important to share, is scheduling your recovery as a non-negotiable, just like your coaches would do, right? You didn't always practice hard. You probably had a high and low model, one day high, one day low, one day, because that's important for your central nervous system. So raise your hand. I mean, you don't have to physically raise your hand, but you could raise your hand if you still try to outwork and outgrind stress, right? Like, oh, I'm stressed, so I just got to put my head down and I'll grind through it. chances are, I'm going to raise my hand, you're not alone, right? We all do this. This is what made us so successful as athletes, but it is one of our biggest hindrance now that we're professionals. So as former athletes, we're conditioned to push, but many of us were never really taught how to recover. So here's what I found. When we stop training like athletes, but we don't ever start recovering like adults, we create chronic fatigue, inflammation, and stress that quietly tanks our performance and, quite frankly, our life. So we have to flip the script a little bit because recovery isn't optional. It's a performance tool just like sets and reps and exercises in the weight room. And we need to be very deliberate and intentional about how we use that tool. And quite frankly, we need to make sure that we are indeed using that tool. So what's it look like now, right? And it's so simple. Sleep, 7.5 hours, right? We need to maximize and prioritize your sleep, right? So block it off. We should have no screens late at night. It should be a cool, dark, very low temperature room, and set a bedtime alarm. You can do this on your Apple and Android devices. We should be doing that no matter what. Mobility, right? We should start our mornings with some type of 5-minute flow, or at least commit to 10 minutes of foam rolling while you're watching television at night. Something as simple as that to address your tissue quality and density. Nutrition. Start focusing, especially as you're getting older, and this I'm talking to myself at this rate. Start focusing on anti-inflammatory foods. So omega-3s, berries, greens, turmeric, really good quality hydration because you cannot outrun poor nutrition. And then lastly, maybe a downshift practice, breath work, sauna, cold exposure, journaling. Maybe not every day, but focus at least 2 to 3 times a week. Do something, anything that calms your nervous system. Because in college, you probably had a massage therapist, massage therapist. You probably had a chiro come in. You might have had access to cryo tanks or recovery boots, Normatex, things like that. But now you got to be your own recovery staff. So make it non-negotiable. Not to coddle yourself, but to recharge your machine. The next thing I want to talk about is cultivating a growth mindset. I'm tracking really the right wins, not the wrong ones. So I want to close with mindset today. Because the fastest way for former athletes to get discouraged is by practicing in yesterday's results, right? And what I mean by that is that if you expect, whoa, there's my light, and it's back. I don't understand why these things do this. If you expect past results in a present reality that you haven't really trained for, you're setting yourself up for failure. You might think, I used to bench 275. Why is 205 hard now? Why can't I just go back to 275? I used to run a sub-6 mile. Why am I gassed now running 2 miles? I used to be so locked in during my college days in my nutrition. What's happened to me now? And that is living in the past. That's your ego. And your ego is not right now helping you. So let me tell you what actually works. Tracking wins that matter today. Wins like training 4 times a week for a full month, or hitting your step goal, right? Limiting alcohol intake to maybe 1 time a week, right? Staying within a protein range for 7 days straight. Maybe something like going to bed before 11 p.m. 3 nights in a row. These are monumental wins, and they stack. And really what it does is your growth mindset says, I'm not where I was, but I'm trending upward. I'm getting better. And that visual idea of progress, that matters. You are not your PRs. You are not what you used to do. You become and you are your habits today. And the more you build, the more your athlete identity and your true identity comes back to you. So I want to wrap this up. You don't need a strength coach like me barking at you. You don't need a strength staff making your weekly calendar. You need a system and a few good levers to pull that puts you back in the driver's seat. So that might be reclaiming your identity. That might be creating an environment that works for you. Maybe starting small with micro habits and small goals. It might be recovering like your results depend on it, because quite frankly, they do. And it's maybe tracking the wins that actually matter in this phase of life. If you're here, you're not done competing. You're just choosing a different arena. So you need to stay accountable. You need to stay consistent. And no matter what, I'll see you next week. Now, we will have a Thursday Q&A call, as I always do. We will have a Thursday Q&A call at 9 a.m. You can join live. You can sign up at adamringler.com/former athlete. You do that, former athlete. You go to that link, right? You can sign up to become part of our community. And in it, you get access links to all of our live, one-on-one or one-on mini video calls, just like this. This is a live call, just like this, with our Tuesday accountabilities, our Thursday Q&A calls, and our twice a month masterclasses. And you can learn about everything you need to leverage, to harness, and to use as a tool to become the very best version of yourself. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, head over to adamringler.com. You can find all of the links at the top of the page, and I will see you next call when we reconvene for our Q&A. Appreciate you. Stay strong. Stay consistent. I'll see you next time.